Hello everyone, and welcome back to mountmoontcg. Well, Twilight Masquerade is due to release on May 24th, and pre-releases are happening this week and the next, so that means I get to talk about what I think are going to be the top 10 cards from this Pokemon expansion for the trading card game. Now, in case you might not have noticed from this intro, my voice is a little bit shoddy. I do have a sore throat. I did end up getting sick from going to the Pokemon Indianapolis Regional Championships. I just got a little cold, so no big deal. But I do apologize if the quality of my voice is, not what you've been expecting from my past videos. So I do apologize about that. Also, we are recording this on a different camera today, trying something a little bit new for mountmoontcg. We're actually recording this on my cell phone, not on our on the camera that we've been using for the past couple of years. So let me know if you like the camera. If you notice any differences, let us know in the comments down below. Any comment would be greatly appreciated. So with that out of the way, here are what I think are the top 10 cards from Twilight Masquerade. First up at number 10, we have Carmine. Carmine is a supporter card that allows you to play this on the very first turn of the game. It simply states, discard your hand and draw 5 cards. Now you might be asking yourself, why does this deserve to be on the top 10 list? Besides the fact that, you can play it on the very first turn of the game, when you're normally not allowed to play a supporter. Well, you discard your hand and draw 5 cards. Similar to Professor's Research. But Professor's Research, you draw 2 more cards. So, what deck would want to use Carmine? Maybe a deck that might, struggle a little bit in the early game to set up. Maybe something like Lugia, V-Star. You might have 2 Archeops in your hand you want to discard with Carmine. And it's easy to search with Lumineon V. So there's that idea. You could play your Lumineon V onto the bench, grab a Carmine, discard your hand that might have 1 or 2 Archeops in it, discard them, draw 5 cards, and then maybe get help with the setup game from there on. So I think Carmine being, a pretty decent card. I mean, discard, draw 5 is not horrible. It's not as good as Professor's Research, but the fact that you can play this going first, when maybe you don't want to play something like a Squawkabilly. Well, Squawkabilly draws you 1 more card, but it's a spot on the bench that takes up space. And it's also a 2-price Pokemon that can get knocked out pretty easily, say by like an Iron Hands EX. Yeah, maybe players might want to go with Carmine for this route instead of Squawkabilly EX. So for the fact that you got a pretty decent effect of a supporter card that you can play on the very first turn of the game when you normally can't play supporter cards, let's put Carmine here at number 10. Next up at number 9, we have a blast from the past, Enhanced Hammer. Enhanced Hammer states that you can discard any special energy card on your opponent's field. No drawbacks. Not like Crushing Hammer, we gotta flip a coin. Nope, Enhanced Hammer just states that you just discard a special energy on the board. Pretty good, in my opinion. This is really good against, like, Arceus decks that, need 2 energy to set up right away. So, if their attachment for turn on their first turn is a double turbo energy, you can use the Enhanced Hammer to discard that double turbo energy, and then it might take, 1 or 2 more attachments before they can, set up their Arceus V-Star and attack. Also, it can discard a bunch of other cards like Jet Energy. It can discard another special energy card that we will talk about later on this list. Spoiler alert. It can discard a multitude of special energy cards. We talked about Lugia V-Star a little while ago. It can discard a bunch of their special energy cards because all they do is play special energy, of course. And also the fact that Enhanced Hammer was pretty good when it was in the format a few years ago. So I don't see why Enhanced Hammer won't be good going forward. And that is why it is here at number 9. Next up at number 8, we have, this is a long name, let's see if I can get it right. Wellspring Mask Ogrepawn EX. Say that 5 times fast. I said it once and I can barely say it. Wellspring Mask Ogrepawn EX. There we go. I think I got it there. So this is one of the, I believe there's four different Mask Ogrepawn EXs in this set. So, and I think this is the best one of the group. So for a water and 2 colorless energy, it does 100 damage. And you may shuffle 3 energy attached to Wellspring Mask Ogrepawn EX into the deck. And if you do 120 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So, for 3 energy, you shuffle them back into the deck. You can do 100 damage to the active Pokemon, 120 to the bench. So this can be really good for knocking out potentially 2 big Pokemon EXs that are on your opponent's side of the field. Of course, you do have to watch out for things like Manaphy and Rabsca that your opponent might play. And there's going to be reasons why Rabsca is going to see a lot more play going forward, but still, watch out for that Manaphy as well, because Manaphy prevents all damage done to your benched Pokemon. So, this also works with conserving energy for later. Let's put this in a deck like Chin-Pao EX, for example. You can shuffle those energy back into the deck, do some damage, and then you can use Chin-Pao EX's Shivery Chill to get 2 energy back. So then you can attach with the Baxcalibur later on. So I think for the fact that you do a lot more damage, and you can conserve some energy for later, I think that's a pretty good reason why we can put Wellspring Mask Ogrepawn EX here at number 8. Coming up at number 7, we have Legacy Energy. This is going to be the first A-Spec we look at in this new set. So Legacy Energy, long story short, is basically a rainbow energy that you can attach to anywhere, but you don't take the 1 damage counter for attaching it. It's essentially a rainbow energy, and the second effect, if your Pokemon that has this energy attached to it is knocked out during your opponent's last turn, during your opponent's turn, your opponent takes 1 less prize card. Yeah, it's essentially a rainbow energy mixed with a Life Dew, if you remember Life Dew. But yeah, it's essentially a rainbow energy with a Life Dew A-Spec card. Important to note that the secondary effect of the Legacy Energy can be used only once per game, unlike some other A-Specs. This energy might be really good for single prize decks. And also, a lot of Lugia decks in Japan have been using this card instead of the Master Ball A-Spec. And remember when I talked about Wellspring Mask Ogrepawn EX? Yeah, Lugia decks are playing that as well, using the Archeops to bring Legacy Energy into play on their Ogrepawn, and, use their attack, do a bunch of damage, shuffle the Legacy Energy back into the deck. Yeah, there's kind of a neat combo with this. So, Life Dew was a little bit annoying for single prize decks when it came out, so I don't see why Legacy Energy decks couldn't be used for those single prize decks as well. And not to mention, like I said with Lugia, you have your Cinccino, attach a Legacy Energy to it, they knock out your Cinccino, they don't take a prize. I mean, that's kind of neat for the Lugia players. A little bit annoying for the opponent, but I digress. That's why Legacy Energy is here at number 7. Next up at number 6, we have a stadium card called Jamming Tower. Jamming Tower states that all Pokemon tools in play, both yours and your opponent's, have no effect. Yeah, you heard me right. You know that Hero's Cape that you find very annoying? The A-Spec? Yeah, no effect if Jamming Tower's in play. Or maybe the Maximum Belt that does 50 more to EXs? No effect if Jamming Tower's in play. Or even some of those Ancient Booster Energy Capsules or Future Booster Energy Capsules? Yep, no effect. So this is a pretty good stadium going forward for some decks that might not know what exactly stadium they want to play in their deck. And there are a lot of pesky tool cards out there that people don't like and that people want to get rid of. So no longer do you need to play Lost Vacuum. You can now play just this Jamming Tower Stadium card. And I think most of your troubles shall be over. Yeah, for the sheer annoyance, and it basically gets rid of Hero's Cape. Yeah, I'll put this in at number 6. It's a pretty good stadium card. Do I need to say anything else? Next up at number 5, we have Iron Thorns EX. Iron Thorns EX is a future Pokemon card with a pretty neat ability. Its ability states that as long as Iron Thorns EX is in the active spot, all Pokemon with a rule box, excluding future Pokemon, have no abilities. This can be huge. Think of all the Pokemon with a rule box out there with abilities. I'm talking Charizard EX. I'm talking Squawkabilly EX. Chien-Pao EX. I'm talking about Arceus V-Star. I'm talking Luminion V, Radiant Greninja, Radiant Charizard. All of these Pokemon no longer have abilities, as long as Iron Thorns is in the active spot. But you can see why Iron Thorns EX can be very annoying. There was a deck that I did see where the only Pokemon that it ran was the Iron Thorns EX. Kind of mess with your opponent's deck a little bit. Because if, say, you're a deck like Charizard EX, you also have the Pidgeot EX, but if all you play is Iron Thorns EX, it's going to be in the active the whole game. Charizard EX has no ability. Pidgeot EX has no ability. Yeah, good luck winning with that deck. But also we have to look at the attack. For a Lightning and 2 Colorless Energy, 140 damage. And then you move 1 energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. A good way to conserve energy in case your Iron Thorns EX gets knocked out next turn. So, a little bit of energy conservation, a little bit of messing with your opponent's deck and their strategy. I think it's a pretty good idea why Iron Thorns is here at number 5. Also, you have Electric Generator, that can accelerate energy. Yeah, this could be a good deck in the near future. Get it, future? It's a future Pokemon. I'll stop. Let's move on to the next one. Coming up at number 4, we have Tatsugiri. Now, you might be saying, Tatsugiri is just a basic, little stage, just a basic little one-price Pokemon. What can it do to be at number 4 on the list? Well, I'll tell you. Tatsugiri states that when it's the active Pokemon, you may look at the top 6 cards of your deck, find a supporter card you find there, put it into your hand, shuffle the rest back into the deck. It's essentially a Pokegear 3.0. Yeah, it's a Pokegear 3.0. So if you need help finding a supporter card for the turn, like a Boss's Orders, Iono, Professor's Research, this card can help you find it. Plus, you can use a card like Rescue Board to bring it, to bring up to the bench when you're done using the ability to look for the supporter card you needed. Yeah, we had a Mew not too long ago that searched the top 6 cards of the deck for an item card, I believe. I think it was item card. Yeah, something like that. And then that saw a lot of play. But there was also a Jirachi that did something very similar where it looked for I think it was just a trainer card to put into your hand. And then you could retreat it with the U-turn board. I don't remember if it was U-turn board. There was a board out there. There's so many different boards. But yeah, the fact that Tatsugiri can look for a supporter card is pretty powerful. And you can retreat it with the rescue board. Pretty powerful effect. Yeah, it's here at number 4. Next up, coming in at number 3, we have Blood Moon Ursaluna EX. Yeah, it's got to be a powerful card when it's got the name Blood Moon in it. Pretty cool name. So Blood Moon Ursaluna looks very similar to a card we currently have in the format. So its ability states that for each prize card that your opponent has taken, the attack cost of this Pokemon is 1 colorless less. So if your opponent has taken five prize cards, you can use the attack on Blood Moon Ursaluna for free. Radiant Charizard, anybody? Sounds pretty similar. So anyhow, the ability is kind of neat, but what does the attack do? So for 3 colorless energy, it does 240 damage. But this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. So that's a bit of a drawback, but essentially you're attacking 240 for 1 to maybe no energy depending on when you play this Pokemon. Blood Moon Ursaluna can be used in Lugia decks, because you can, accelerate energy with the Archeops. You can use it in Lost Box decks, because, Mirage Gate's a thing to attach an energy or two if you really need it. 240 damage can knock out, basic EXs, kind of like Chin-Pao EX, as well as some basic Vs like Arceus V, Giratina V, Luminion V. Knock out the Pokemon that you need to knock out. So the fact that you can do some big damage without necessarily needing a lot of energy, we're going to put Blood Moon Ursaluna EX in at number 3. Coming in next at number 2, we have Dragapult EX. Dragapult EX has the attack where it does 200 damage. And then you can put 6 damage counters on your opponent's benched Pokemon any way you like. So this is kind of neat. So it forces some decks to play basics that are higher than 60 HP. Kind of like Charizard decks. Now they'll need to play a 70 HP Charmander instead of the 60 HP Charmander. And some other Pokemon, so on and so forth. Like the Frigibax, for example. Because now you don't want to get, have one of your Charmander or Frigibax sniped from the attacks of Dragapult EX. And the fact that it's 2 energy, you can accelerate energy with cards like Xatu. I think Mela can accelerate some fire energy onto Dragapult. A good reason this is a pretty decent attack. Also in this set, there is a Dracloak, which is very similar to a Pidgeotto with the Airmail ability. Basically, you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in your hand, put one on the bottom of the deck. A little bit of draw power for the deck. It's also a 310 HP Pokemon with no weakness. A little bit hard to knock out. Yeah. This is getting a lot of hype right now, and it's seeing a lot of success in Japan. Both the Xatu variant, and I think there is a Dragapult Pidgeot EX variant that is seeing some play as well. And I think this is going to be the big deck that comes from Twilight Masquerade. So when a set brings a whole new deck to the format that's going to see a lot of play, it's going to see some power behind it, I think we have to take into consideration for it to be one of the best cards. Also, I do want to point out that that the Dragapult with the 6 damage counters, it goes through Jirachi. Because Jirachi only stops basic Pokemon from placing damage counters like Sableye. So Jirachi is worthless against this card. I think the Rabsca should prevent those damage counters from being placed on your Pokemon. I'd have to look back, but I think Rabsca does prevent those effects. Which is why, Rabsca is going to be played a lot more when I think Twilight Masquerade becomes legal. Just simply because of the Dragapult EX. So 200 damage for a little bit of energy. Play 6 damage counters to annoy your opponent. That's why I put in Dragapult EX here at number 2. And finally, at number 1, the best card in Twilight Masquerade, in my opinion, is kind of a little bit unfair, which is appropriate because the name of the card is Unfair Stamp. Oh boy. Unfair Stamp. It's in the name, folks. It's a bit unfair. It's an A-spec. It's an item card. It states, you can only play this card if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. You and your opponent shuffle your hand into your deck. You draw 5 cards. Your opponent draws 2. Kind of getting some kind of like Iono or Roxanne vibes here. Yeah, it's basically those cards as an item card. So you can essentially put your opponent down to 2 cards in their hand. 2 cards that might not even be very good. We see it time and again on Pokemon streams where someone gets Roxanne to 2 cards, and they're just 2 dead cards and they just can't finish the game and they lose. Think about this as early as maybe turn 2 or 3, where your opponent only has 2 cards in hand and just can't do anything. I mean, this is a powerful A-spec card. Not to mention, you can get this card back with cards like Silene. Silene, which flip 2 coins for each head to put a card from the discard pile on top of the deck. You can use this effect multiple times per game. So it's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. And plus, if you're a stall deck or a mill deck, this can work in your favor. I mean, me personally, I'm trying to see if I can get Arbok EX to work with a card like this. Because Arbok EX discards cards. And maybe put your opponent down to a 0-card hand. Not to mention, you can also play cards like Eerie after you reset stamp to look at their hand, and if they're 2 item cards, like 2 Mirage Gate or something like that, you discard them and your opponent has a no-card hand. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do with Unfair Stamp to put your opponent down to 2 cards left in hand, and maybe even fewer if you got the right cards in hand. Hey, this team's really good to me. And plus, I do hate a lot of these cards, such like I said, Roxanne, Iono, that makes you shuffle your hand into your deck or put cards on the bottom of the deck to get a new hand. And now get an Unfair Stamp down to 2 cards. I mean, this will be one of the best A-specs besides Prime Catcher. Now people are going to debate on whether if they want to play Prime Catcher or Unfair Stamp. Yeah, Unfair Stamp, it's going to be a bit unfair, and I think it's going to be the best card in Twilight Masquerade. But let me know what you think, everybody. What do you think is the best card in this set? And what is your list? I want to know down in the comment section down below. And also, again, I do apologize that I have been ill for this video, but hey, the pre-release is coming up. We got to get this video out. It doesn't matter if I'm feeling well or not. We got to get this video out to you guys because we love you guys and we want to entertain you. But thank you guys so very much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe, and be sure to join us for some more awesome perks right here on Mount Moon TCG.